Jenny-Jaymes and our sidekick Christian Cano, partner in crime, is coming up next.
Hey everyone, I'm Jen's sidekick. Welcome to Two Queers in a Truck. Hi y'all.
See you soon. Good morning, everybody. And instead of playing some Pride music, we got a little 1970s jive music, a nice cool vibe. But this is Two Queers in a Truck. I think this is Earth, Wind, and Fire, isn't it?
I don't know. Yeah,
so.
It sounds like it. Something like that. Disco Inferno. Yeah. I feel like I should have those long white tube tops.
That's what she said. But anyway, this is Two Queers in a Truck. We are already into over the halfway point of April. It would be, if you're seeing this the day we drop it live, it is April 19th. And just for intellectual.
I'm still dancing.
I know you're still jiving out for the people that only listen to us.
That's right.
Got his Key West golf hat
Visor on.
Visor on and sunglasses, looking Joe cool today, and just came back from a trip to see his family and Tejas, and also
good to be back home.
Or for a lot of people that are decent people still left in Texas, which is getting a little thinner, West Afghanistan. So anyway,
that's right.
We will get right into it. Trans people have become superheroes, X-Men, so to speak, according to state Republican Chucklefuck Webster Barnaby. He calls us mutants and imps and demons, and we're like, and he kind of referred to the X-Men, but he didn't realize that basically the way he talked, in fact, one of his lines about trans people essentially sounded like the villain in the X-Men movies, which was this one Senator Kelly. And he literally sounded like a comic book movie villain, and has since apologized. And of course, it wasn't sincere or anything like that. It's just him probably got his phone and email just blasted by people saying what a piece of shit he is because he's a Republican. But I had a bizarre take on it from the fact that, one, this is a man of color. He's a black man. Two, the fact that he was born in 1959.
Yeah.
Which, if anybody is a student of history or even kind of understands history, we know what happened in the 1960s, like the 1964 Civil Rights Bill that was passed when he was 5 years old. So he lived this history of discrimination based on pigment of your skin, that you were judged by your appearance, which is what he's doing to trans people. I mean, the reason we get judged is because we look different. That we're different. We're a different class of human being. And so he did the exact same thing that was done to him. I mean, it's still done to him, but he lived. He was alive when Dr. King was alive. He was able to watch these civil rights struggles on TV if he had a TV, and because most households back then, a lot of households didn't have TV, not because he's black, but and I always, the black transphobe really is shocking to me.
It's not to me. I'll tell you why when you finish. Yeah,
I can see the homophobia more than I can the transphobia, and I guess because I get judged every day wherever I go. I'm very visibly trans. There's no
Mm-hmm.
You know, I'm not, you know, I didn't start transitioning at 14 or 17 or, you know, I'm not
Mm-hmm.
one of those, I'm not like Dylan Mulvaney, the Bud Light University trans girl that's absolutely cute, young, gorgeous, just little petite, little baby doll trans girl that's very attractive. There's a reason why she's a spokesperson, a model, and an influencer.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not in that category. I'm a late bloomer, and I'm okay with that. And so wherever I go, I'm automatically people would go, okay, I'm trying to figure you out, you know, and I get that look, I get that side eye look that a lot of people that look different, that aren't white, cis, and heterosexual. And for people that never watch this show but only listen to the show, Christian's a man of color. He's a Latinx, you know, dude. So
Girl, I'm a white woman.
Well, you are a white woman. You're a South Charlotte white woman. You'll always be a South Charlotte white woman to me.
I'm joking.
But
yeah,
we look different. We get those prejudgments because Christian gets this, and I've seen it happen. Where are you from, Christian?
Yeah.
Which I always think is bizarre, especially when I'm standing next to you. I'm going, so people look at me as a space alien unless I'm next to Christian, and Christian, like, where are you from? No, where are you really from? and I'm going, oh, you ignorant. like you know, Latinx people here were before white people were here.
Yeah.
And especially down in Texas, you know, the border on the population. I mean, you had something to say.
I was going to say, Jenny, I read this yesterday when I was flying back. We do this a week in advance. So I was flying back from Texas when I read this. And I actually was sitting at the bar waiting for my flight. And I yelled out, "Negro, please." That is my first instinct to yell out. Because to your point about you don't understand this people of color who are transphobic, I don't understand people who are Latino or Latinx who've been marked, especially on the darker shades, who are, because rest assured, especially if they're a Black Republican, and we have many in Charlotte, or at least some who think, I'm going to go after the transgender population because it makes me feel less Black. Because when I looked at that person and I read that he was born in England, moved to Florida just 15 years ago, he has always been a second-class citizen, and now he's like a born-again Christian, or maybe always been. I assure you, being down in Florida and known in Florida, there are Latinos or Cubanos who believe he is third class, below gay people. And so it is, I think there's this, I wish we could do a show on it, or we knew, someone that we could, African-American or Black person to bring on the show. There is something in that community, just like in my community, that they do that to make them feel less marginalized. And I don't understand that.
And you see a lot of human beings do that. Like if I push this person down, it elevates me up.
Exactly.
Almost like a human, like the teeter-totters where one sits on your head, and if I push them down, if they go down, I go up.
Yeah.
And it doesn't work that way. It just makes you look ignorant as fuck. It really.
Can I say hey Jen, can I say one other thing? I know you're going to cut me off here.
Yeah.
This is one of the things what I also don't understand, and I wish we could say this, but I think we're trying to be polite, as you used to say. We're trying to be polite. The Black community does not have a lot of allies. No. Their strongest ally has always been the LGBTQ plus community, because we're both marginalized communities. We stand behind them. We do what we can, even though there are members of our own families who don't like them. And so when I see one of them throw us and throw you under the bus, I think to myself, you know what? I don't have to go to your Black Lives Matter situation, even though I am. But what they don't, that is what to me it almost makes me angry, because I'm like, listen, do you know how much we sit here and try to help make sure that people do not marginalize other people? And you're the first one to say, well, there's still a lot of racism in this country.
Oh, Oh,
And so
I
it
think
is bizarre. It is bizarre. Yeah.
Completely.
Yeah.
The MAGA movement is completely based on the election of Barack Obama.
Exactly.
It's completely reactionary, white triggered. Don't take our guns, you Muslim.
Exactly.
And there's this pure fear that one out of 46 presidents in our 245-year history was black.
Yeah.
One. And it was only because he is a phenomenal human being. He was an immaculate president as far as his behavior in the White House.
They see him as an uppity.
If you want to call him uppity, I mean,
that's how they see him. They see him as an uppity one.
I mean, these are book burners.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, new fear education, and Barack had a ton of it. He number one in his class at Harvard Law. I mean, that's no small accomplishment. He was just, is just a brilliant man, and the way he carries himself, and just, if that's uppity, I mean, I guess I'll always strive to be like Barack. I'll just be an uppity homosexual. And, it's just super bizarre. But anyway, the next subject, Kellyanne Beavis.
Sorry to go unhinged there.
Yeah, it is thinking that the Republicans can win over Gen Z, even though despite her daughter, that's a Gen Zer, was making fun of the Republicans in the same day, and saying, you've shat on us, especially the last 20 years with endless wars and economic depressions and everything else, and wonder why, and taking away abortion and taking away trans rights and burning books, and wondering why Gen Z is voting like 80% Democrat. And Kellyanne Conway being the clueless Republican shield that she is, just blabbing on like, oh, we haven't done anything bad, and we're just kind of misunderstood, and we'll rewrite the narrative like we always do. And I'm like, now, because the younger millennials, instead of going more conservative, they're getting more progressive. And I think technology has a lot to do with that, because before, when Reagan would lie, you didn't have a resource to go verify it. And now, every time that Trump or any of the Nazis in the Republican Party lie, obviously some of their things are obvious lies. As it just come out of a courtroom, I'm not guilty, and that sort of thing, even though we all know that even his lawyer, Michael Cohen, his former lawyer, has gotten sanctioned over this porn star thing. Exactly. You can go out and Google it. You can go out and Google, mass shooting statistics, and you can Google instantly, violence statistics all across the United States. We all walk around with these little resources, these little supercomputers, and we can Google anything. Like, you can Google, average median real estate prices in Charlotte, North Carolina. You can buy a home on your phone. You can do all your banking. You can move money around. You can literally do almost every you can buy a gun on your phone. I mean, we got guns, we got knives, we got guns that look like knives and knives that look like guns. We literally, the Republican Party, I guess they understand that we have these little pocket Google machines, but it's almost like there's such a disconnection with reality that as she's saying this, and that's the reason why I called her Beavis, like Beavis and Butthead, because she kind of looks like Beavis a little bit. Look up Kellyanne Conway, and then look up Beavis and Butthead, just for a second. Like, I'm expecting them to start doing that little chuckle fuck laugh, the Beavis and Butthead, like, you farted. But anyway, we're up against our second break, and we'll be right back with some more coffee, some more Two Queers in a Truck. I'm probably jumping ahead.
Freudian slip.
Hey, everybody, you can catch us on your favorite audio podcast platform, Spotify, and all Apple Store, the Google machine, and whoever else does podcasts, we're on there. We broke in, and we're staying. So enjoy the Two Queers of the Truck on your favorite audio podcast platform. Thanks for listening or watching. Bye, baby. Happy pod. We're back with some more Two Queers. Yeah, I guess I'm so used to saying that too.
Yeah.
We've done the coffee show way longer than Two Queers, but anyway.
Jenny, it looks like it looks like my week away at my undisclosed location, we were tied at the hip because I had that exact same conversation too at that bar.
That's funny. That's hilarious. Oh, by the way, readings for queers. Michigan. There's a small town in Michigan, and the article didn't have the name in it, and I didn't spend the time researching it. But they pulled a Missouri. They've decided that they're going to defund their only town library because it's got queer literature in it, and the town voted to stop funding their local public library. There's a movie called Idiocracy, and some people have watched it. And it's set in the future in 2505. It was released in 2005 during the baby Bush administration. It was basically the dumbing down of America kind of movie, but it was a comedy that almost turned into a documentary, a cultural documentary about our society clearly getting a certain portion of it getting clearly dumber. But one of the lines, in fact, the common thought in the Idiocracy future is that intelligence, bettering yourself mentally, is not cool. And reading in the movie, and this isn't intended to be offensive, but they said readings for facts. And then they punch you on the arm, like you're not supposed to read, And so anybody that was intellectual, the main character was in an army experiment and was cryogenically froze and then forgotten about. And 500 years later, a garbage avalanche happens and his little tube opens up along with the other person that was in the experiment. And they wake up in 2505. And of course, he was of average intelligence. He was just an average dude that was in the military. And what's funny is that in the future, he's the most intelligent person on the planet. Because
doesn't he become president or something? Or
eventually, at the end, Joe Bauer becomes president.
Yeah, I think I remember that. Yeah,
and then there's just some great comedic actors in this movie, and it's scary how accurate it is. And now, almost 20 years after that movie's released, it just seeing things like Missouri, and also this week Missouri voted the state Congress voted to defund their whole public library deal statewide. There's not going to be more state funding for their libraries, so I guess local libraries can choose to pitch in and fund their library or whatever. And Missouri's full of not super bright people. I mean, I lived in that state. I lived in the Ozarks. I lived in Branson, Missouri. And in fact, that's when the movie came out. I was living there in 2005, and I was like, after I saw the movie, I went to Walmart. I'm like, I think we already skipped 500 years in the future. And it's surreal. It's surreal how literally in my lifetime, especially white people, and I'm a white people, for people that can't visually see me, I'm a white person. So I can say this without sounding prejudiced. White people become dumber, considerably dumber. And I feel elevated because I feel like I'm getting pushed up the intelligence food chain because my brethren is taking a massive nosedive down the food chain of intelligence to where I'm shocked that they don't need daily reminders how to breathe. That you'd say hi to something for an answer.
And you know what, Jenny, what you said earlier about your second segment about the Kellyanne Beavis or whatever you call her,
Mm-hmm.
it is a perfect example why education and history and books are so important. Because if you do not, that sounds so cliche. If you don't know where you came from, you don't know where you're going. And everyone knows every time you try to do these kind of things in the history of the United States and the world, it never works. You can't keep information from people. It will never, ever work. Ever.
Well, and history's never treated book burners kindly. As it should. I mean, you know, the most famous one, of course, was the Nazis and the fascists of the 1930s and 40s in Europe. And you look at that lack of appreciation of an anti-intellectual movement. And you always see that with very white nationalist or fascist movements, which ironically seem to be, at least in the last 2 centuries, tend to be white Europeans that have got a fragile worldview that we're almost a Ricky Bobby mentality. You ain't first, you're last.
That's right.
And I think that's why that movie resonated, because one, I mean, the fictional character Ricky Bobby was stupid as fuck. And that you ain't first, you're last, all or nothing mentality is what a lot of Republicans carry around. They carry this, you know, the Carrie Lakes that still think they won the governorship of Arizona. You know, they're like the Don Quixotes, except I don't think they're crazy. I just think they're stupid. I think their stupidity is so disconnected them with the real world that they can't critically think and say, yeah, I probably fucking lost. I don't think the whole state of Arizona can miscount that bad. Like it's like accusing the whole United States election judges around the country that are both Republican and Democrat run, but they overcounted 8 million votes or undercounted Trump's votes by 8 million and one. Like, they're that tragically stupid and incompetent or crooked. It has to be that way. There has to be conspiracy against me because I can't lose, even though I'm a fucking idiot. But I think there's some new tea that we need to talk about. Alvin Bragg, the Manhattan DA, punches back.
Yeah.
He, as we're taking,
you go, Alvin.
I love the fact that Alvin did what most Democrats need to be doing, and he opened up a lawsuit against Jim Jordan, a preemptive strike. Jim Jordan, known sexual predator enabler, Jim Jordan, it was trying to rabble-rouse the House, the Republican-controlled House, into going after Alvin Bragg. Now, one, Jim Jordan is a representative from, I think, Ohio or Indiana. I can't remember which.
Yeah, it's Ohio.
They've turned into River Tucky State, so they're all kind of the same. And Jim Jordan was trying to figure out a way to stop Alvin Bragg prosecuting Trump, basically.
Yeah.
And Alvin Bragg said, "Not today, Satan," and put a 50-page lawsuit on his ass. And I think it's absolutely brilliant. And this is probably why he is an elected official in Manhattan. I mean, it's a pretty sophisticated fucking populace. And this guy's no fucking idiot. He's about to take down
Jenny,
former president of the United States.
Yeah.
When nobody else has and is 70, almost 80 years on the planet. And he's going to do it with the help of a porn star.
Did he actually think, Jim Jordan's from Ohio. He's a very performative, big old queen. Did he actually think going head to head with a district attorney in New York that he was ever going to win? because let's just assume that he's a halfway decent attorney. He has a staff of very highly qualified, New York attorneys who work for him, who fight mafia cases, Wall Street cases. It's crazy.
Yeah, this guy's no fucking dummy. Like, this is not some schlep rock from Goats Balls, Montana or something like that. Take down the president. Like, I'm going to take down the president. I mean, and I think Jim Jordan thinks he's in an elevated position because he's in the National Congress, so he thinks he's above somebody like an Alvin Bragg. And there's probably some underlying racism there too. But Alvin Bragg, if you listen to him talk and you look at the strategy of his case against Trump, people said this is a really hard to prove case in general. Not because it's against Trump, but just in general. The charges are not an easy win. But legal strategists say he's on the right track. Obviously, because the Republicans are sending out the warning flares and the lifeboats, and they're trying to figure out a way to keep Trump from getting convicted. I mean, so much so that a national congressman is trying to interfere with the trial, which is ironic because they're calling this election interference by serving up judicial justice system justice on Trump. And I think you compare an Alvin Bragg that's a brilliant prosecutor and attorney, and you compare the jock sniffing Jim Jordan that's a wrestling coach. No knock on wrestling coaches, but unless I want to think about gym socks and molesters, I'll call Jim Jordan. I'll say, hey, how's the best way to get away? How do I best get away with molesting people as a doctor? And Jim Jordan said, yeah, I just looked the other way and I covered it up this way. But I think in the law, in the justice system, I don't think we really needed to hear from Jim.
Yeah.
Like, the expert's on it. And just because he's afraid the expert's going to get his boy, that's tough shit. That's the way the justice system works. We're up against our second break, and we'll be right back with some more Two Queers in the Truck.
Hey, everyone. Thank you so much for watching us on Two Queers in a Truck. Don't forget, you can watch us anytime at your leisure on our video podcast platforms like Facebook and YouTube. But you can also listen to us, either this show or any of our past shows, on our audio podcast platforms like Apple, Amazon, Google, Spotify, and all of the other ones. So once again, thank you for watching Two Queers in a Truck. I hope you enjoy our show.
And I think, and one more thing, and I'll get off the subject, but I wonder what the Republicans would say. Let's say Hillary won in 2016 instead of Trump. She served 4 years. She got voted out. COVID still happened. People judged her on it, and she got fired. And then they figured out some charges against her, or tied something else to Benghazi or emails or whatever, and they decided to prosecute her post-presidency. I wonder how different the Republicans would be talking right now.
Hey, you know what? Even more important, I wonder if Hillary was president and they decided, let's say in Arkansas, what's her name? The governor decided to push her attorney general to go after Bill Clinton for paying hush money to someone who he had sex with. Okay. And then Hillary Clinton decided to invoke executive privilege. You can't hurt the president's spouse at the time. People would be saying you're trying to interfere.
Yeah. Oh, and some people call her Hillary because she's supposedly tied to all these different convenient deaths and stuff like this, and all these conspiracy theories they've had against her. And not to mention the millions of dollars that Congress spent investigating her for a big fat zero. But she got exonerated twice, one on Benghazi and one on the emails. And they were relentless with her and then act shocked that a thug like Trump is getting investigated. I'm going, because he very obviously, I mean, anybody's heard the Georgia phone call, where it was the perfect phone call according to him. You go, why is he not in jail over that? Because he said very clearly, you need to find me, what was it, 12,000 or 20,000 votes or whatever. He literally was telling people that could influence the Georgia electorate, I need you to find me votes. Like, well, that's not even veiled. That's not even a subtle, like, it's like dropping an 8,000 pound elephant on somebody. Like, I need you to find me some votes. I need you to ship them out now. And literally threatening a Georgia official, and we got it on tape. Violent crime is 300% higher than it is in New York City. And especially in areas in red states that have dollar stores predominantly in certain neighborhoods. And it's a phenomenon. It's a two-part phenomenon. One part, I read an article on how dollar stores are wrecking neighborhoods because they're turning them into food deserts, because dollar stores mostly have very cheap goods and services, but it puts a lot of marginalized grocery stores, and grocery stores, have tight margins anyway. But when you go up against a dollar store, they can't compete. It's very tough for them to compete. And so a lot of times in lower income areas that tend to be food deserts anyway, dollar stores just wreck the economic ecosystem in there. The second thing is, it tends statistically, red states and former red states, Wisconsin's going more purple and blue now, but it had a lot of Republican governors and Congress people from there in these last 10, 12 years. But Milwaukee, for example, has 300% more violent crime than New York City. Because the narrative is, too, that Alvin Bragg is incompetent. This is going back to Alvin Bragg for a second. And then Manhattan's just this super dangerous, urban jungle, and there's tons of violent crime. And then some reporters pulled up the crime statistics of recent and go, oh, New York City's like extremely safe. Like, violent crime wise, it's got a factor of like a 20, 1 being the best and 100 being the worst. And Milwaukee's like a 77 index. It's like at the bottom quintile. And so people are going, yeah, you're full of shit. This goes again back to the Gen Z. Is that you can Google this, and some of the reporters did. These were pretty young reporters saying, "Oh no, you didn't. You're a fucking liar." They've showed this one bank robbery in New York City where they like smashing a car into something. It was a super violent crime, but trying to use that as the impetus that New York City is completely violent because there was one violent crime there. And it's just like the transgender shooter in Nashville. The queers are coming for our churches, and we're victims, and come to find out, they're out of the last 3,000 shooters, like 2,800 of them have been cis men. 3 of them, and it's questionable whether the 3 of them were really trans. I mean, the one in Nashville was for sure, but there's only been 3 mass shooters that were trans of some kind, non-binary, genderqueer or something. Maybe. And 2,800 cis men. So I don't know if the ratio is right, but boy, Christians sure do. I mean, you shoot up one Christian school, I'm not playing it down, but all of a sudden there's this super victim. Oh my gosh, they're coming for us. I'm like,
yep.
I'm like, well, the school in Uvalde was primarily little Latino kids.
Yeah.
And y'all didn't jump out and defend the Latino community.
No.
Worried that they're going to exterminate all Latinx people.
Or the Pulse Club.
And the Latinx community didn't say that either. Like, oh, they're going to start shooting us all up.
Exactly. Yeah.
But, you shoot up a predominantly white Christian, urban school, and shooter was white. Ironically, the shooter went to that school. So
Yeah.
kind of tells you what they think about the school. But also has white Christian, good Christian parents, supposedly. I don't think it's more an indictment of Christianity that you produced that. You produced a mass shooter. Like, it's an indictment of that school. Like, what was done to that person that they were so enraged they go and they kill 6 people in that school? And obviously, the morality of those good Christian parents was really low to raise and groom a violent adult like that. They were still living at home, by the way. So that good Christian environment created mass shooters.
Exactly.
That's the way to look at it. Mark Sahady of Malden, Massachusetts, that is known for creating a straight pride parade, and just got charged with January 6 charges because he was part of what a shock. Straight pride parade. You got Proud Boy also was there in January 6th. So he just got charged this week, which by the time this airs is last week. And I will tell you something. I saw his mugshot on Twitter. I'm not real sure about the straight part. And I'm here for it because a gay commentator called Chris Evans, and he's not the Chris Evans from the Marvel comic books. He's a black Chris Evans that's super gay and super funny. And he said, what do straight people have to be proud about, first of all? It just flames straight people, which I'm here for it. But in fact, Chris made a list. So what exactly is there to be proud of being straight? He said, the millions of the children that you produce that end up in foster care, the gender reveal parties that end up in deadly fires, the unwashed ass cheeks, the shiplap and ugly drapes that you put up. I'm confused. I mean, he just roasts straight people. And no offense to our straight listeners. You are listening to Two Queers on a Track. But
exactly.
He's not wrong. I mean, if you're going to have straight pride, do something to be proud about. Like going out and breeding and shitting out a bunch of kids and then throwing them into foster care because you're incompetent and because you think this primitive, ancient thinking of like the salmon swimming upstream to go spawn and then die. This is kind of what the straight people do without even thinking, without any intentionality, is that kids aren't just accessories. They aren't just on a checklist. If you decide to have kids or you decide to bring kids into your life because you marry somebody that has kids, be fucking responsible. This is all on straight people,
But Jenny, you said a couple of times, you said several times, let them have the straight pride parades.
100%. 100%.
Let them have the straight pride parades. I will go to it. You and I will go. We'll take selfies. And I assure you, year after year, the free market will determine. I assure you the gay pride parades will still be funner, more entertaining, more enjoyable, and no one will end up going. I mean, what are they going to do? Like you said, have a monster truck driving down? Yeah, I mean,
well, they're going to have little lawnmowers that they decorate and push down the deal, or
that's called the July 4th parade,
or dress up like Karens. I want to speak to your manager. I mean, what are? I can't even picture what would be exciting about going to straight pride. Because for one, straight people are oppressed. They're the oppressors. And for you to have a pride event, when you need to be oppressed, and the straight people play the victim all the time.
They sure do.
As soon as a queer does something wrong, whereas Jesse Smollett that faked the hate crime up in Chicago, or the transgender mass shooter in Tennessee, and it only happens every once in a while because there's not many of us. We're a small group of people, and trans people are even smaller. We're 0.25% of the population. We're nothing. We're a fraction of the size of other communities, including communities in our own community. We're a minority of a minority. But the first time one of us fucks up, and it does happen, there's going to be unhinged versions of us. You can't have a population of over 1 million people. And the trans population is approximately 1.4, 1.5 million people. Maybe a little bit more. There's 330 million Americans. Like that's not even it's not even a drop in the bucket. And of course, out of the million of us, there's going to be a killer amongst us. There's going to be some drug dealers. There's going to be, you can go down the list of all the criminal offenses. But at the end of the day, 98.9% of the offenders on sexual assault against women and children are cis men.
Yeah.
Predominantly straight, predominantly white, usually Republican. And so I'm not saying all pedophiles are Republican. It just happens to be that most Republicans that show up in their mugshots on Twitter tend to be registered Republicans.
Yeah.
Tend to be white. Tend to look like this straight pride dude.
Yeah.
Just saying. And you don't see a mass amount, like a big surge of queer people storming capitals. You don't see us doing mass violent events. But you see up a lot of pent up, straightish, in the closet Proud Boys doing shit like that all the time. Going to drag events, going to capitals, threatening governors. Just like the gun debate, it's the guns.
Yeah.
It's a stupid bigots.
Well, I mean, Jenny, last week, and I know we're over now, but last week there was a transphobic speaker going to be speaking at San Francisco State University, and protesters went and protested, and allegedly she was trapped into a classroom for 4.5 hours, which is, I don't think that's the case, whatever. But Lauren Boebert said it was terrorism and it was this. And of course, my instinct was to say, okay, so what you're saying is when people go protest and they harass other people, that's terrorism. Have you not seen Proud Boys at track shows?
Yeah. I mean,
it's the victim hypocrisy, whatever. It
goes right back to Beavis Conway and her disjointed comments.
Yeah.
Of they live in an alternative universe.
They do.
That is not neighboring the truth in any way.
Yeah.
And they've conservatives have always crafted an alternate reality to justify crazy, bigoted, horrific practices they've done for centuries in this country.
And not to accept responsibility.
Yeah. And they don't want to be painted in history as the assholes.
Yeah.
They become the dictums. They're really a dick, but they try to play a victim.
Exactly.
And
like Trump.
People are just not buying it anymore. And they're just saying, no, bye, Felicia.
That's right. Bye, Felicia.
That's what they said to Trump. in 2020.
Bye.
Bye, fucker.
Bye, Felicia.
Time for you to retire. But this isn't the end of our show. We have used up more than enough of your time. And we're going to jam out. And I hope everybody has a great week. We'll talk to you soon. Bye, babe.
Bye, boo.
Hey, y'all. Thanks for watching Two Queers in a Truck as we jam out here. Hope y'all have a safe and productive week. I will talk to you next week.
Bye, boo.
Bye, babe. Hey, thanks for watching Two Queers in a Truck. And Christian and I just blathering on about craziness in the world today. Y'all be safe out there. There is a lot of Republicans on the road.
That's right.
Have a good week. Bye.